What's going on, guys? It's K-Dub here with another episode of CryptoZombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having an all right day today, but I completely understand if you're not feeling that great today. We are having an absolute crypto bloodbath today. For the past 48 hours, Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, stocks have continued to fall. The S&P has fallen below the 200 daily moving average, and it is the weekend, and now all weekend investors have to sit here, look at this chart. There is panic, and considering that the crypto markets trade 24/7, this could explain why we are seeing extreme fear in the markets right now. Extreme fear of 13 on the Fear and Greed Index, the lowest levels that we have seen since the COVID crash. What is happening, my friends? We need to talk about Bitcoin. There is specifically one level that we need to pay attention to right now because we have fallen out of this falling wedge. We did break to the downside, and unfortunately, my friends, we have finally dipped our first monthly candle into the EMA ribbon. So absolutely everything right now is looking terrible. How bad is it? What is happening? So I want to talk about the price level, the specific price level that we need to watch for Bitcoin. And it's not even just because of the technicals. It actually has something very fundamentally to offer for Bitcoin. So I am going to share that with you, where we need to keep our eyes focused. I'm also going to let you know what needs to happen, not necessarily overnight, but something that needs to happen right now for crypto in order to see this price rebound. And of course, I'm going to end today's video on what I believe to be the most important thing to focus on and to remember right now in the crypto space. So if you are concerned, if you are worried, if this has you shaking in your boots and you are about to throw in the towel, well, sit back and watch today's video. We're going to go over some TA of what we have going on right now. Lots of things have changed. Lots of trends have been broken, but there is a silver lining around this cloud. Now, if you don't believe me, stick around to the end of the video, and I do think you will get some value out of this. So if you are not subscribed, my friends, thank you so much for everyone that is. It has been an incredible journey. Don't forget, guys, Bitcoin is still up tremendously off of the crash that we had back in 2020. We are up still over 10x. But if you did buy in recently, being down 50% isn't quite great. So let's dive in and let's have a look and see exactly what is happening. Now, I did speak about falling into this moving average that we have right here, the EMA ribbon, not really looking too great. As you guys can see in previous times, whenever we do tend to test into this area, it usually means some form of a prolonged bearish market. Now, does this mean that we are officially in the bear market? Well, it is certainly not looking too great right now. But as I told you guys, the stock markets are not looking too great right now either. Now, personally, this is just my opinion. I do anticipate that there would be some form of a rally in these stocks come Monday. I just can't see it continuing to sell off. There needs to be at least some type of confirmation that we are going to stay below this level. If we do see a red candle on Monday, well, then it is not just Bitcoin. It is not just crypto. It is everything, my friends. Every single thing is down. And I know Peter Schiff is screaming from the rooftop. Well, guys, gold has been essentially going sideways. I wouldn't exactly say that gold is up. It has been holding better than Bitcoin recently. But if you look at the historics of Bitcoin compared to gold, Bitcoin is still actually performing better, surprisingly, even with this 50% down draw overall. But what you can see right here is that we have fallen out of this falling wedge. And, this is definitely not good to see. In fact, you can see we actually tried to come back into the wedge. We got rejected and we continued falling down. Now, what have we been saying on this channel for a while? We have been discussing the significance of reclaiming the support down here at around this $30,000 level. That was the worst case scenario. What is happening right now is we are losing this very historic legacy trend. Now, in all honesty, we would have to get back up to about $42,000 by the end of this month in order to reclaim this trend to the upside. Is that possible? I actually don't think it's impossible, But I do think there are a lot of factors that do have to play in. You can see that, of course, as expected, we are getting support off of this area right here where we did have massive accumulation, lots of volume right here on the VPVR. And you can see we are having that. We're not having a bounce, but we are actually having a little bit of conflict here, whether or not Bitcoin wants to fall lower. But the thing is, we are massively oversold on this RSI. In fact, something really, really crazy to just point out is if you go to the total crypto market cap right here, you could see that we have not seen levels this low on the RSI for the total crypto market cap since the COVID crash. So this is pretty significant to pay attention to. This is showing us that markets are definitely 100% oversold. Now, this doesn't mean that we can't go lower. It is the weekend, and I will tell you right now, I do not trust weekend price moves as far as I could throw them for Bitcoin, because we know that the institutions are in. I said this in yesterday's video. The big institutions came in. This is what everybody wanted. We were rooting for it for years. They're here, and guess what they're doing? They're selling. Why? Because that's what Wall Street does. But you know what is happening? Someone on the other end is buying. Now, the question is, who is buying? Well, I'll tell you what, guys, I have been buying Bitcoin because you know what? I take back my freedom. And if these guys want to panic sell, great. Panic sell to me. Good luck holding your dollars over the next 10 years. Now, sure, in the short term, in the next month or so, maybe the US dollar rallies. Maybe they do cut inflation a bit. Maybe they raise the rates just enough, 1%. Why are we panicking over 1%? I have no idea. Ask the guys on Wall Street. But inevitably, we know how this game ends. We know how this story ends. Look at this chart. Look at Bitcoin. And let's just zoom in and remember that this is what we're panicking over. Wait, let's zoom back out, guys. This is what we're panicking over, okay? You have to zoom out. And like I said in yesterday's video, if you are not in this space because you believe in the things that you're invested in, then you are probably in this space for the wrong reason. In fact, I always encourage people to take profits. However, I don't know what kind of an example I am because I choose to not take my profits in dollars. I take my profits in Bitcoin because I know the value of Bitcoin. So yes, my portfolio is down 50%, more than 50% from the high, obviously, because Bitcoin is down 50%, but I have a substantially more amount of Bitcoin now than I did even at the top. I have more Bitcoin now than I did at the Bitcoin top. And that is the goal for me. Everybody's goal is individual. But getting back to the charts, like I did show you here, there was this potential of this M pattern. And this was one of my worst case scenarios, but that's why they are a scenario. And that is exactly what we're seeing right now. The likelihood of Bitcoin coming down to $30,000 is very high. In fact, where we are right now was one of the exact levels that I had discussed based on the hash ribbon indicator. Watch my video yesterday if you don't know what I'm talking about. There is a strong possibility that the bottom could be very close to being in. In fact, I had my eyes set on 35 to 37. We're already sitting at 35 right now. I don't anticipate that there will be much more of a sell-off, honestly, unless we see something crazy happen with the stock market on Monday. If the stock market starts bleeding again on Monday, then I do think that we will have this test down here. But there is one level that we need to pay attention to. And I'm going to get to that level in just a second. But for anyone that didn't watch my video yesterday, this was the stock market between March of 1997 and April of 2009. And you could see that it did put in this giant M pattern where we were trapped between these two areas. What ended up happening ultimately was you had a double bottom. Now, double bottoms are very bullish. They often signal reversals. And if we go back to Bitcoin's chart, that would exactly be what we would be having. Excuse me, guys. We would have a double bottom right here. So I think that, in my opinion, is one of the worst case scenarios. And like I did show you on the hash ribbon buy chart, the hash ribbon never goes lower. The price never goes lower than the previous swing low. The previous swing low, if you take the wicks, would be down here at around $28,800. So that would be, for me, the absolute bottom, the same way that we actually had the S&P kind of fall out of it right here. You see down here, guys, there was a little bit of a fake out. Overall, it maintained structure at this level, but there was that dip down there. So if we do have this double bottom play out, like I said, there is that possibility that if we do this M-shaped pattern, we do dip slightly below here, maybe come back down to around $28,000. And I'm talking briefly, very, very, very briefly, maybe a day or two. And then we would put in that giant double bottom. I think that that is the most likely case for Bitcoin if we do continue downwards. I would be honestly shocked, personally shocked. Now, I don't claim to be a guru. Please just, I'm just a guy on the internet, but from my honest opinion, what I think, I just can't see price going much lower than that. Now, this is the important level, and Gabox pointed this out. He's over at Van Eck, and this is why this level is so significant for Bitcoin. It's not just because of the accumulation down there. I think that's very important. But he points out that MicroStrategy has 124,000 Bitcoin. Their average Bitcoin purchase is around $30,200. So this is a very important level. He says, I think that is an important floor. If we dip below the $30,200 level, then there could be the serious unwinding back towards $20,000. He does say Bitcoin this weekend may drive what happens to markets on Monday, but you do have to take the market movements on the weekend with a grain of salt. I have seen price movements over the weekend completely erased come Monday, multiple times, so many times I can't even count anymore. So I've seen Bitcoin pump 10% only to lose it completely come Monday, and I've seen Bitcoin dump 15% only to completely rebound again on Monday as well. So it's going to be an interesting weekend. I really wouldn't take any of the price movements too serious right now. Obviously, if there are, even altcoins are down. Altcoins are getting smashed right now. But if there are altcoins that you truly believe in and you're not just in it for the quick gains, this could be an opportunity for accumulation as long as you're okay with knowing that things may not be immediately great. For me, I am actually freaking out not because of the price. I'm personally freaking out because I have been buying a lot of Bitcoin on the way down with some of my leftover, cash reserves. And yeah, eventually that's going to run out. But I'll tell you what, I'm more scared of not having enough money to buy this dip than I am worried about the dip itself, if that makes sense, because I couldn't care less about dollars. I have gone multiple years, for 3 straight years in crypto, I had like $0 in my bank account, right? That's fine. I can deal with this. That's what I'm more scared of, though, is if we go down to 20K and I don't have enough dry powder to actually unleash, that would concern me. But getting back to what Gabor says, he said, I note that there is an unprecedented amount of liquid institutional capital that's looking to allocate. Many institutions missed out on the $10,000 to $60,000 rally. Central banks printed trillions, inflation is high, and many mistrust bonds. The upside rally may get wild. And I do think so. I think when we do eventually have that turnaround, I think everyone that's been panic selling at these levels is going to highly, highly regret doing that. Now, if you're trying to trade this, great. If you're shorting and longing and buying and selling, congratulations. But the reality is most people don't have the time to sit in front of charts and trade. And most traders end up losing money anyway. Dollar cost averaging has been the best strategy. It has been my core strategy since I got into cryptocurrencies. And as he points out, we have the S&P sitting down about 8% off of its all-time high. NASDAQ down 14%. Bitcoin is down 50%. So if you are allocating cash, you tell me what is a better relative trade. Now, speaking about this $30,200 price floor for Bitcoin, Michael Saylor actually recently was over on Bloomberg Studio, and he had a little bit to say specifically about what could be causing this right now, which I do agree with, but I will let the man say it himself. And also, he does give his opinion on the overall Bitcoin space. Now, he is the shining knight of Bitcoin, so I figured you guys are probably sick of listening to me, but this is what Michael Saylor has to say about the situation.
Look, if you're going to invest in Bitcoin, a short time horizon is 4 years, a mid-time horizon is 10 years. The right time horizon is forever. Warren Buffett said, if you wouldn't hold it for 10 years, you shouldn't hold it for 10 minutes. So if you look at the course of 4 years, no one's ever lost money over 4 years holding Bitcoin. And if you look at, our experience, we started buying it at $10,000, and now it's up by a factor of 4. So given the right time horizon, you're fine. So it's a blessing and a curse. The blessing is it makes it the most exciting, interesting thing in the financial universe everywhere in the world. And the curse is it can induce anxiety for people that have a short attention span or are focused on a narrow time horizon.
What do you think then is behind this early 2022 crash?
I think that there's a lot of dynamics here. If you look at the entire crypto ecosystem, you have a set of regulatory uncertainty, especially regulatory uncertainty around stable coins and crypto tokens and whether or not they're securities. And that creates a little bit of anxiety. You have a lot of leverage offshore. You have a lot of crypto exchanges that can trade with up to 20x leverage. And those crypto exchanges have many, many tokens that are cross-collateralized. And between them and the DeFi exchanges, you can get much higher than 20x leverage. So that's a second source of volatility. The crypto markets are almost designed to encourage volatility. And that creates kind of a love-hate relationship between the crypto ecosystem and the Bitcoin hodlers. The Bitcoin hodlers are holding for, a decade, and sometimes for 100 years and sometimes for 1,000 years. And yet you've got fast money hedge funds that have a tax incentive, a huge amount of leverage, and massive volatility. But you have two totally different investment mentalities here. And when they come together, the result is you've got, in my opinion, the world's least risky asset to hold over the next century called Bitcoin. And you've got the world's most volatile fast money market, called crypto. And they're both joined at the hip, for better or for worse, in the year 2022.
So clearly you're a hodler. But for the people who are terrified, who have never been on this roller coaster before, shorter term, what does the trajectory of Bitcoin look like to you this year?
I feel like it's consolidating at this level. This is a great entry point for institutional investors. I talk to high net worth individuals, family offices, public company executives, private company owners, and they watch Bitcoin run up in 2021. And there are a lot of people that would be afraid to own it if it was going up 400% a year. But if they're staring at it and it's 40% off the all-time high and it's consolidating, and they see that it's being embraced by people like Bill Miller, by very well-respected investors. It's being embraced by the regulators. It's being embraced by senators and congressmen and public investors and public companies. They're looking at this as like a good entry point. I'd be remiss, Emily, not to make a more important point, which is what's really going on here at a macro level is inflation. The CPI headline inflation is 7%. Look at the Turkish lira. It's collapsing. The peso is collapsing. So there's a volatility story for a conventional investor in Manhattan that's got a portfolio of equities. But 75% of the world can't buy the S&P index. They're in Africa, Asia, South America. And if they've got their assets in banks, they're going to have them seized. They can't buy the equity. So the real story here is digital property that solves a problem that 8 billion people face.
And if you really want to see some conviction in the space, my friends, El Salvador, if you have not seen this, has just added another 410 Bitcoin to their central reserve, and they actually bought the dip. They got it at around 37,000. The average price was 36,585. And yeah, this was confirmed by the president that they made this $15 million trade for all this Bitcoin. So they are in fact buying the dip. But also getting back to something that Michael Saylor was saying, and this is something that I have pointed out multiple times on this channel, guys, the open interest is so high. You have so much greed in the space. Look, guys, if you're trading using leverage, leverage can be an amazing tool to hedge, but so many people in the space go so crazy with this stuff. I mean, traditionally, most people are using 2, maybe 3, 4x. You have people using 50x leverage, 2,500, absolutely insanely irresponsible trading. And when you get this type of open interest and you have these crazy funding rates, you do see a washout. And you know what? Unfortunately, we needed this just the same way that we needed the flush out with all these meme coins and meme tokens. I mean, when you have meme coins doing 1,000x, 200x, in a week, there is something clearly wrong with the average investor. And I'm not trying to rag on any of these new people that come into crypto, but some of them chasing these dog coins and meme coins. I mean, it's just absolutely insane. The markets do need this refresh. And obviously, as the open interest continues to come down, not good for the price short term, especially the fact that you are seeing these liquidations, unfortunately, but it is very healthy for the space. And as I said, the best strategy is simply just a dollar cost average. I've been saying it for 5 years on the channel, and I guarantee you, you will not be disappointed. Anyone that has ever held Bitcoin for longer than 3.5 years, even if you bought at the all-time high, has proven to make a minimum of 3x, but unfortunately, some people are more concerned about what's going to happen next week instead of thinking about the longevity. And we know that Bitcoin is the longevity. Bitcoin has proven itself for 13 years. There's nothing that's ever been able to break Bitcoin. China FUD, Fed FUD, banning miners, massive crashes, COVID, 50% dips over 3 separate occasions. Bitcoin is the honey badger. It doesn't care. And unfortunately, it takes these times in the space for people to realize this. And as I was telling everybody, especially with Ethereum, when Ethereum was outperforming Bitcoin, Ethereum does usually outperform Bitcoin. However, as you can see right now, Bitcoin is down 50% from its all-time high. Ethereum is currently down 52%. This is why Bitcoin, in my opinion, remains the top coin. And honestly, I wanted to give a shout out to Anthony Pompliano. He actually broke down some really interesting statistics. And I believe that ultimately in these times, especially if they're hard times for you, if you did just get into crypto recently, this is the type of thing that you need to be paying attention to. And I'm just going to let Anthony sort of share some of this data with you.
Everything is down. Of course, everyone is also scared that the Fed's interest rate decisions are going to force asset prices lower. And so naturally, just as people go and start buying inflation hedge assets when they think inflation is on the horizon, same thing here as people sell assets when they think that the Fed is going to make future interest rate decisions. So all assets are down materially. If we go ahead and we look at Bitcoin specifically, it is still above a $700 billion market cap. The inflation rate is unchanged, 1.77%. Bitcoin's monetary policy does not care what is going on in the world. It doesn't care about global pandemics. It doesn't care about the Federal Reserve, and it sure as hell doesn't care who's buying and selling it. Over 90% of it's been issued, but still it is being used at an incredible pace. Over $12 billion of settlement on chain in the last 24 hours. Bitcoin miners were paid $35 million over the last 24 hours as well to continue to secure the network. Even though Bitcoin's price has gone down, the Bitcoin miners are still securing the most secure, most powerful computer network in the world. They don't care either. Then, if we continue and we look over the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, guess what? It's all up, baby. Minus gold. Gold's been down 1% over the last year. My favorite part of this statistic is that if you bought Bitcoin last year and just held it now for 12 months, you're up 20%. If you bought gold a decade ago, literally, your Bitcoin purchase from a year ago doubled your gold performance from 10 years ago. And so ultimately, that ends up being incredible. Also true is that if you bought Bitcoin 2 years ago and held it to today, you outperformed the S&P 500 over the last decade. That is what asymmetry does. So then if we go and we look at Bitcoin and the price closing history, what we see is that for 290 days ever in the history of this asset, it has been higher than it is today, about 6% of the time, which means 94% of all days since Bitcoin has been created, it has never been higher than today, which is important to pay attention to. You're not going to make a different investment decision because of that, but you are going to understand what's going on. Then if we go ahead and we look at Bitcoin, gold, S&P 500, NASDAQ, and TLT, part of my favorite thing here is Bitcoin outperformed all of them over the last year. Also, those assets are absolutely pooping the bed when it comes to the compound annual growth rate over the last decade. Bitcoin, even though the price is down, has still compounded annually for a decade at 140%. It is absolutely bonkers. The Sharpe ratio over the last 5 years absolutely destroying the other assets as well. But even though the price is volatile, even though Bitcoin has gone up, it's gone down, it's gone up, it's gone down. Last year, Bitcoin had more than 6 different times where it dropped 20% or more. It had 3 times where it dropped 30% or more. And it also went down more than 50% one time. It also went down more than 50% in 2018, in 2020, in 2021. None of this stuff is new. Everyone calm the hell down. Now, why is that important? Because guess what? The plebs, the Bitcoiners, they're still stacking sats. They don't care. We just hit a brand new all-time high for Bitcoin addresses with a Bitcoin balance of at least 0.01 Bitcoin. Even though the price is super volatile, Bitcoiners keep stacking sats.
So I think it's pretty apparent that the HODLers don't care. The HODLers are buying. The miners, the hash rate has hit an all-time high. The miners don't care, right? Clearly, the network is the strongest it's ever been. So I do leave you on that note, my friends. I know it could be tough times. The rest of this weekend is definitely going to be a little bit interesting. But what I can say is that these are the opportunities that we wait for. These are the opportunities that everybody in the space says, man, I just wish I could have bought more when it was cheaper. I wish the price would go down. Man, I'd sell my kidney if I could buy back at $30,000. Well, now you have that opportunity. And I think this is that moment that separates the true believers the HODLers, those who deserve what is inevitably coming, to those who just want to flip some shit coins for some quick profits, right? So that is it for me today, guys. I love you, and I am telling you right now, it has passed before. It will pass again. We will come out stronger on the other end. This isn't some kind of hopium. It's just a fact. Bitcoin will survive, and Bitcoin will come out stronger even than it is right now. It just matters what your time horizon is. Me, I got all the time in the world, my friends, because I know where Bitcoin is going. And as I said, Bitcoin's going to $1 million. I showed you the math in the video yesterday. If you don't believe, sell. Sell your Bitcoin right now. Just get out. Just get out of it. Sit in your fiat, lose your 2 to 3%, or guaranteed at this point 7% CPI, right? And yeah, that's it. Or take this opportunity, not financial advice, of course, but you know what I'm doing, to buy into the world's greatest store of value that we have ever seen. And if you don't believe me, come back in 6 months and let's see where we're at. On that note, guys, I leave you. My name is K-Dub. This is CryptoZombie. Until next time, stay crypto. And of course, peace out.